This is Nicholas MajinTenshinhan Taylor, and I am here with my coworker who had some time with the new Garo City of the Wolves. Dakota, how was it?
It, as they say, exceeded my expectations. As soon as I walked in and saw the game, I'm like, holy crap, this looks like a Marvel vs. Capcom 3 in, like, the best ways. You can see from the trailers it has, like, that kind of 90s comic book aesthetic, and sort of like what they were doing at Sam show as well, with the cross-hatching and the deep shading and stuff like that, and it just looks really awesome in motion, like, even better, like, than what you saw in the trailers.
Yeah, that's one of the first things you told me after the trailer came out and I got to watch it for myself. You were like, I think that's an older version because what I played looked even better. And I was like, bro, are you kidding me? Because it already looks great. Like, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, one of my favorite fighting games, and it has that type of style to it. Like you said, it has a comic booky feeling, and I think that fits so well for a game like Fatal Fury or Garo. It's the same series. But yeah, I'm so excited to see that type of style on it.
Yeah, and on top of that, you've got like all these different effects for all these different mechanics, and they don't like completely overwhelm your senses, but there's a lot going on. And then there's some really like cool stuff on top of that. Like I was noticing when you get like a counter hit, it makes like a shattered glass like visual effect on top of like the big counter. You've got like your EX moves, you've got like all your guarding stuff that we'll get into in a minute. I also got to talk with the producer Oda-san and director Konya-san as well, and they seem pretty darn excited about the REV Excel system, which we'll get into here in just a minute.
Yeah, so that's another thing, because I didn't really know anything about it. I knew we were probably going to see footage, right, because they showed it a while ago. So I was just waiting during the SNK World Championship yesterday. And then when I see the footage, it looks really cool. I'm loving the vibe. But then we just get these words on the screen, They have like Rev Axle, Rev Guard. And I'm like, okay, but what does that mean? Right? But you actually spent time playing the game, so you know what it means. Why don't you run us through the basics of the REV system? What exactly is it?
So the basic gist of it is you can kind of think of the REV system working like the drive system in Street Fighter 6, but in reverse. Instead of having a meter that goes down for using special actions, you start at 0% and your meter builds up for using what they call REV actions. And that includes REV arts, which are essentially EX moves. You've got the REV blow, which is a armored attack that you can only use while you're in the SBG state, which works almost exactly like the TOP system in Garo.
Yeah, and if we have people who haven't played Garo, the TOP system was that you got to choose a segment of your HP bar, and while there you got like access to a special super, but in this game you get access to the REV blow mechanic while you're there, right?
Yeah, and then on top of that there is, I didn't get to see it because they labeled it as secret while we were there, but there is what they call the hidden gear. If you saw at the end of the trailer, Rock does a power geyser, and that is a super special that you can only use while in SBG. But yeah, they didn't tell us the inputs on how to do those yet.
Yeah, but that's really cool. That's actually, I looked around a lot online because, I'm a very big fan of SNK in general. So I was very interested in like gauging the hype and seeing where people were at as far as City of the Wolves went. And the most hype I saw was for Rock using the power geyser.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, oh yeah.
All right, so the REV arts are basically EX moves,
right?
Right, and you said that the REV blow is like an armored move that you can use just on the ground or in the air too.
No, everybody has a grounded and air version. So when you saw Terry do the air crack shoot, that's his air REV blow attack.
Oh, okay. So basically, when you're at a specific point of your HP bar, if it works the same as the TOP, right? Then you're gonna basically open up a completely new mind game while you have that available to you.
Yep, and you can still put it at the start of your health bar, in the middle, or at the end of your health bar.
That's really cool, because that's a mechanic that I felt was kind of underutilized in Garo. For those who don't know, Oda-san, who you had an interview with, he was in charge of Garo originally. I think that was the first game he was actually in charge of. And he went on to, he left SNK for a while and went to Dimps, where he developed the Street Fighter 4 series. And the Ultra system in Street Fighter 4 felt like a natural continuation of what they wanted Top to be, but not quite as intricate. So I feel like here it makes more sense, because in Garo you would get access to a certain super while you were in top, but you just put it at the end because that's when you're going to have meter. You're not going to have enough meter to use this super while you're at the top of your health bar, most likely. So seeing it develop into something different now that you have a separate bar that's used for the rev stuff, I feel like it's the natural evolution and kind of the culmination of this concept that's been like 20 years in the making.
Right. And then the real meat and potatoes of this game seems like it's going to be in the REV Excel system, which you probably saw in the trailers. It looked like, oh, you can cancel specials into specials, and yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it is. You can chain EX moves into EX moves. If you saw in the trailer, it leaves behind like that cool like after image effect, so you can see when the cancel happens. And from what I played, it seemed like you could do up to 3 specials into each other, and there might be like certain specials or situations where it'll do like a special follow-up for doing a certain action into a certain action. And so that opens up the combo system a lot more than Garo especially, and like makes it feel a lot different than what we saw in like King of Fighters 15 and Samcho and the other modern SNK titles. It really feels like it opens things up, but at the same time, from what I played, it also feels heavily committal in what you have to do, because it feels like for most moves you can't like really hit confirm on like reaction to do EX into EX. You have to like pretty much do the inputs like right after each other. So it's not like it's not like very free flow like a Roman cancel system, but it is still a lot of fun and opens up things like a lot more than any other game in the Fatal Fury series in the past.
Yeah, and so I imagine like it's gonna be extremely useful for punishes and stuff. For example, like you can really style on your opponent if you manage to read them correctly.
Oh yeah, like I think in the trailer you can see like Rock using his EX command grab into like the fist beam into like the running dash elbow, and it's like there's so much you can do with this. I spent like a little over 2 hours with the game, and it just felt like even after everything, I was still barely scratching the surface of what's there, especially like seeing the trailers and other footage now, like, oh, you can do that? I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, so that part sounds really cool, and I'm quite excited for that. But there's another thing I want to touch on here, because we talked a little bit about this before doing this recording, and Dakota knows, since, you know, we have our work chats, something I've been complaining about a lot for a while now is the lack of defensive options in a lot of modern fighting games. And what was it, the Rev Guard? Is that what it's called?
Yes, you have a brand new system called Rev Guard, and the basic way to explain that is it works a lot like Faultless Defense in Guilty Gear, and a bit like push blocking in Marvel vs. Capcom. So where you can basically hold the R1 button on the controller and you get up like a little bubble shield in front of you. And while that's active, any move that you block will push the enemy farther back than if you just standard blocked it. But I had to go back and look, and it does look like while you're holding it down and while you are blocking moves, it does build your rev meter. So you have to be careful while using it, because it can put you into the overheat status that we'll get to in a second. But what I really liked about the Rev Guard that like kind of elevated things to the next level is while you're holding it down, you can basically press any input direction and do an action out of it. Like you press forward out of the Rev Guard, you can do a dash or a run depending on your character. If you press back, you can do a back dash, or if you press up back or up forward, you can do a hop out of it. So it really adds like another layer to the movement and the defense at the same time to the game that I felt like was really fun, especially for Hotaru, who I played most extensively through the demo.
Yeah, you know, I've been asking for more defensive options. I love movement. So putting these pieces together after hearing about the system and then checking the video, because I noticed Rock kinda does that thing where he goes into Rev Guard and then does the dash and then cancels that into a special that crosses up, and I'm like, bro, this looks so sick, come on, like, it looks so active, and I love that. Here's the thing though, you just mentioned it, there is a drawback. We already compared the rev system to the drive system for Street Fighter 6, and you know, everyone knows, if you use the drive system too much, you end up in burnout. Same goes here, if you rev to the max, you end up in overheat, right? So what is that?
Yeah, once your rev gauge goes over 100%, you go into overheat. And yeah, similar to being burned out in SF6, while you're overheated, you cannot use any rev actions, so no EX moves, no rev guard, no rev blow, and at the same time you've got the guard gauge under your health bar. And so while you're overheated, you can only block a certain amount of attacks and then you'll be guard broken. So that can, open you up to basically a free combo if you're too much on the defense. But like SF6, there are ways to mitigate that. The way to make your gauge recharge faster is to be proactive, to be offensive. It'll constantly tick down, but you can make it go faster by landing attacks, advancing towards the opponent, and also apparently using successful just defends, which, I guess we should also talk about quick, is that Rev Guard is definitely not the only defensive option in this game. On top of that, you have just defense coming back from Garo working pretty similarly because you also have the guard cancel out of that, which lets you, basically cancel your guard into special attacks, rev arts, supers, pretty much anything you want. On top of that, there's hyper guard, which you press forward or down forward while blocking consecutive attacks. And I'm not even sure what that does because I didn't get to try it, but it's there.
Okay.
And you've got dodge attacks, and one thing I also kept forgetting even existed is you've got the feints are back, so you can fake out doing a power wave. You can fake out doing stuff. There's so many layers just stacked on top of each other that the ceiling has probably never been higher in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it doesn't feel frantic or like you have to use everything to have a good match, because like I feel like I was only using like 40 to 50% of like the mechanics and stuff, and I was just like having a lot of fun playing with one of the SNK guys. Like, okay, let's just keep going. Another one. Let's run it back.
That's the best review you can have. You don't want to stop playing, That's obviously the best grade you can give something. But while we're on the subject as well of, you said the ceiling can't be higher, and it sounds like it. There's a lot of stuff in here. They've also done what most fighting games do now, which is give a more beginner-friendly option, because they do have like kind of modern controls, right? Similar to Street Fighter 6 and Tekken.
Yeah, they have what they're calling right now the smart style as opposed to the arcade style for the standard controls. And smart style works almost exactly like modern controls in SF6. You've got one button for punches, one button for kicks, one button for specials, and one for combos. And so specials are performed with triangle plus forward, back, down, or neutral. And I did find out that you can still do specials by doing the regular inputs, but like SF6, you won't have access to all the different like moves or strengths and stuff like that. And then you've got like circle as like a kind of auto combo. So it seems like you might only have the one or two combos out of that, so it's not like maybe as in depth as like SF6's motor controls like right now, but that's obviously subject to change. And they are flashy, but it also feels like those auto combos like will use up pretty much all your resources that it can. So like it'll do like 2 Rev XLs into like a super, so you'll be burning a lot of meter by doing that. But it's a fun little thing that I hope they expand on it a bit more, but so far it feels fine for what it is.
Yeah, I'm personally not a huge fan of modern controls, but I can't deny the impact it has on the game's popularity. Street Fighter 6 has been popping off majorly, and I think it's in no small part because of this. So I don't think it's, as long as it's an option, I'm pretty fine with it. And I think they're trying to follow a lot of the good things that Street Fighter 6 has done, so I'm happy to see that. But in general, I'm just very impressed with what we've seen so far, because watching the footage, I think I got maybe 10% of what there is to be excited about. You telling me about all this stuff was actually, forgive the pun, revving me up.
10 points.
Like, I was actually getting super hyped when I heard all this stuff. I was like, damn, okay, so that's how it works. Okay, so we have all this stuff too. And so there's actually one thing that I never asked you, but you have supers in the game. Are they connected to a regular super bar, or do they interact with the rev system in any way?
Yeah, so below the rev bar, there is 2 blocks of your power gauge. That's what lets you use your supers, what they call ignition gears and red line gears. And so each character has like 2 super inputs. So you've got like Terry's Buster Wolf, and you'll have 2 variants of that. You'll have the ignition gear, which costs 1 bar, and the red line gear, which is going to be more flashy, do more damage, and it'll cost 2 bars.
And then you also have this secret super, apparently, since Rock did the power geyser. But you never saw one of these, right?
Yeah, from what I heard, like, I don't think anybody that was doing the testing that day found one. And I was told, like, yeah, like, even, like, the SNK guys there weren't even sure how to do them. So, yeah, it seems like they're keeping that a little under wraps at the moment, but we've got, like, probably a year until the game comes out, so there's hopefully, you know, a lot more to see and learn about what's going on. But right now, there's almost overload of, like, holy crap. There's all these new offensive mechanics, but at the same time, there's, like, just as many defensive mechanics. So from what I played, it's a very nice and natural, like, back and forth push and pull of offense and defense that feels very active and fast, but at the same time not overly frantic.
It definitely sounds like there's a good, like, interplay between the players with the whole thing, and, you know, I'm so excited to see more of this. God knows, like, what's coming up as far as characters go, because clearly they're leaning more into the Fatal Fury side, because we already saw, you know, from the early posters, they had, like, Andy and Joe and whatnot, because in the original Garou, Terry was the only returning character. So you have this rich cast of Garou characters that people love and they're very nostalgic, but you also have this huge Fatal Fury cast, and there's so many different characters to pick and choose from, and, you know, I just know that my girl, B. Janet, is going to be in there, so I'm set, right? Because I have her, I have Terry, what else do I need? Before we cap this off, is there any character you're looking forward to, or are you good with just Hotaru?
I mean, Hotaru's the one I've been wanting back, but I mean, I won't say no to Duck King, man. Bring him back. It's been too long. But yeah, if there was ever any doubt before, like, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is not a like a reworking of KOF 15. It is a true Garo sequel. It feels like Garo, but everything kind of works and has like 5 to 10 extra layers added on top of it. And so that's really exciting. From what, like, I played, I was telling the guys, they're like, if things continue like this is probably going to be my favorite SNK game.
Woohoo! Oh man, I'm not sure. Based on what I've seen, I'm not sure I could go that far, but I am a huge SNK fan. And just hearing that makes me really excited. So, oh man, I can't wait for the next info dump.
And also, stay tuned, because we've probably got plenty more coverage coming up for this game.